Yeah.
riding lawnmower.
The riding lawnmowers on here is fun.
No.
I can say that
No.
from experience.
Well, I was like, we don't need a riding lawnmower. He goes, why don't we just take the mowing deck off and keep it, and then we can put a dump cart behind it for like the people that pick our pastures. Because we pick our pastures every day.
Yes.
Every damn day. So instead of scooping it by hand and putting it in a wheelbarrow and hauling the wheelbarrow and
Yes.
hoping you don't dump and fall,
Right.
Yes.
which also happens, we could just drive around.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, right?
It is, yeah.
I feel like it's a little lazy, like it's cheating.
No.
No, it's more
smart.
efficient. It's definitely more
You're so
efficient.
funny.
They're not really made to pull though. I can say that
Right.
from experience.
Yeah. I've worked at a farm.
You gotta zip it up, you gotta change it up.
You
don't add something on
He's
it.
gonna have to put some different tires on it or
I
something.
know, yeah.
Well, that can all happen.
Mud
right?
tires.
That's ours.
Right, with chains or something. Oh
That can
gosh.
certainly happen.
Oh, boy.
Mm.
Yeah. Well,
I don't
You
think
do
it
it.
matters either if you have one horse or 4 horses. Like everybody has mud.
oh yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
totally.
For sure.
Like
What
I
do you
have
do with your
3.
manure?
Well, my horses are out most. We pick
Okay.
2 and then we haul off once
Okay.
we get, so much of it.
Where do you take it?
Yeah, well, I have a couple of farmers who compost.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Nice.
That's,
Are you rubbing your butt on the door? Hey! Hey!
he's like, oh, we're talking about horse poop?
Excuse you.
I'll show you what I got.
Yeah, you can do it now.
Thank you for tending to my needs.
What a cute boy. Do you want to be on camera?
You did.
Oh, he is.
But
He's not
So
biting
naughty.
it though.
He has so much personality.
nobody wants to see your butt. We want to see your face.
He's like, well, where's my beer?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to drink it too. Okay, so you have 3 horses in the pasture, and how often are you picking your manure?
Yeah, I pick. Well, I drag, so it depends.
Yeah.
Like right now, you can't really drag; it's too wet.
Yeah.
So we pick, and I'm like you, I pick every day.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it gets gross.
Right.
It makes it a huge
Yeah.
job if,
Yeah.
if you miss even one day.
Right.
It's not twice as hard. It's
Oh, and my
Which is
more.
good. Better
Yeah.
out than in.
Absolutely. Cheaper than a vet though.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. It needs to flow.
Yes.
It's just a lot.
yeah,
It is.
and it's not doubly more work. It's exponentially more work.
Yeah,
Right.
it is.
It just is. I don't know why.
Do you do the cows? The cow pastures too?
Every day.
God.
You have to, because you have to figure
Yeah.
too, if you don't pick it,
Bugs,
it's mud,
It's
mud.
and then it stinks,
Yep.
and then the flies.
Yep.
It's a breeding ground for flies. So even though we overpopulate with fly predators, you still have to do something with the manure. So yeah, we pick.
And cows in general attract more flies.
Yep.
Like we have cows on either side. We don't want any. But when one pasture is empty, we can tell a difference.
Absolutely.
There's more around. So
We get.
Drinking problem.
Okay. Do you need some water?
No, but I got.
She's a drunk.
Yeah. And how much do we have?
Yeah.
I know you
She
gave a
really hates my
Goodness sakes. No drinking problem. Goodness.
What the heck was I saying?
Picking
About
the poop
picking.
and the flies, and you gotta.
Oh, we have the cows.
yes.
The
Our
cows.
neighbors have cows too. So when we do our fly predators, even though we only have 2 cows here now, I get enough for 10 cows because I do the perimeter
Sure.
of our facility as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
Right,
they're
'cause you
always
got cows
peeking.
all over here.
Yep.
And they'll come and hang out and look at yours. and-
Oh yeah, they hang out. They have a
And
meeting.
flies
They have a
travel.
meeting.
Well,
They
I was gonna
do.
say
I've interrupted the
Mine-
Zoom
Oh.
meeting.
Oh, me too.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, they do. They're visiting.
Our cows, the neighbors' cows, can't actually come as close as yours,
Yeah.
horses, but we still get those flies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then those little like black natty,
Oh,
like
they're
they just
disgusting.
nitty. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
And they
terrible.
get
I hate 'em.
years. But
Love
you
it.
two both make really, really good points about mud and observing what the land does.
Oh yeah.
You know, if the woods, for instance, is now eroded and you're going to have to put rock in. So I think those are little hidden gems for folks to pick up on.
Oh,
that, you look at it and you go, oh, it's so romantic and wonderful. Well, yes. And yes, it's hard work, but that's something to be on the lookout for.
Yeah.
And mud is something that has to be managed, and maybe, people wouldn't think about that, but tips to manage it.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Pay attention, observe, keep notes,
See where they walk.
calendar.
I
yes.
video. So like if I'm going out to feed and I notice that there's a puddle here, I'm going to remember something over here needs to be done, maybe, I don't know.
But if you
But if
don't-
I video it and say, and show the grader, this is the area, this is what it's
Right.
doing, make it go away.
Yeah.
At least I have some sort of reference. I have a whole file on my computer of areas around this farm that I need to fix.
Yeah.
And
It's ever changing.
Yeah,
And if you don't
totally.
have some way of recording it and paying attention.
And when you live like
yes.
somewhere to your point where you have neighbors, what they do affects your stuff.
Absolutely.
totally.
So
Yeah.
Pond
you know.
that brings the mosquitoes. You have no control over that
Yeah.
while you're clearing the hoof prints that have
Right.
water.
Well, or if like that house had their drainage coming down to where your stuff is,
Yeah.
you wind up with an
Exactly.
extra. So
Well,
Yes.
and this house over here actually has a spring that when it rains, it fills up even more. It floods this entire pasture. So we have dug a trench along their fence line that goes behind our barn and kind of we've managed the water because for 5 years that pasture just flooded.
yes,
You know,
we've done stuff like that too.
Now, where do you guys get, like, where have you done most of your research? Like, is it like on Facebook and you ask a question out there and get feedback?
Yeah.
I mean, ask friends, like how have you
all of
kind
the above, I think.
yeah,
Okay.
groups, right? Like
Yeah,
you
and
ask.
everybody, just like everything with horses, has a different opinion about what is right or wrong. And you know, some people
Which
don't like
one for them?
gravel, and
Yeah.
you know, some people say gravel's good for your horse's feet, depending on you know how strong their feet are. And you know, some people like screenings, some people don't. Like
Yeah.
it's
And how long have you owned your farm?
we have been where we live a little over 15 years.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've had
And
a
I
lot.
boarded before that, so I understand that end of it too,
Yeah.
as a boarder.
Right.
What was the biggest transition when you went from being a boarder to then owning? What was kind of your learning curve?
Just that kind of stuff. I feel like learning, you know, what you need to do to your pastures to make sure that they stay weed free. And, you know, I have all of my horses are easy keepers. So it's the balance of having too much grass and not enough grass and, you know, supplementing with hay and then do they need it? And, you know, it's you know, so it's learning your own horses. I have always been an owner who was super involved. Where I boarded, they probably hated me.
I love my involved owners.
You know, because I was a person that like I like to clean stalls and I like to groom my horse and so I didn't have that part of the transition and I was a person even when the weather was bad I came out. So I think that would be a huge learning curve for people. Like there's not somebody to call when it's snowing and
Yeah.
you know
You gotta go.
15 degrees. Yeah.
They gotta eat.
And you've got to check, you know, your blankets throughout the day to make sure they're not wet if you blanket.
That's a whole
Another
conversation.
topic, whole other opinions. Yeah, it's
What do you do since you have your own horses? You have no boarders, right?
no,
And
yeah.
you have no employees, which are,
It's
so-
just me.
So
Yeah.
what do you do if you and your husband want to take a weekend away or a cruise? So,
So
how do you
we
do that?
have thankfully a pet sitter who lives pretty close to us who also has horses.
Uh-huh.
And we have Australian Shepherds. She also has Australian Shepherds because they're a whole different, a different thing too.
Right.
And I'm a very particular animal parent, so I want things done a certain way. And it's probably very easy for her. She comes and there's little baggies made and little, you know.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Labeled with whose
Yes.
it is
Absolutely.
and morning and afternoon.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do that
Yes.
That's what we're all our people.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Why is
But,
that so
but it took a
familiar?
little time,
It
I'll be
helps.
honest, to find somebody that you trust. And,
Yes.
and it's simple things that you probably don't think about. So I'm a person that my horses don't have dirty water because
No.
I wouldn't drink dirty water.
Right.
Not everybody feels that way, you know. So it was, you know, learning curve of finding somebody who, even if they don't agree with you, they'll do what you ask, I guess.
Well, that's fair.
That's the key.
Yes.
Yes,
fair.
absolutely.
Yep.
And then vice versa.
Absolutely.
You
Yes.
might not agree with something she prefers, but you're fine.
And I
You're
still, even though our pet sitter is very familiar at this point, I'm fortunate I have multiple friends who live pretty close. They know my animals, so they'll come over and, you know, check. I had to be out of town for work one time in December and the weather was pretty bad. And, you know, she called me and said, oh, this one, they're not cold, but she's not happy. Like, I'm going to put her other blanket on, you know?
Yeah.
So, it takes a village, really.
Yeah.
Yes.
You patched it all together.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And my husband is
true.
not a horse person. He pretends well.
He's a good sport.
He absolutely is, yes. But so that you have to think about that too. If you're
Yeah.
going to own your own farm, you know.
For sure.
There's a lot that goes into it.
We have a boarder that wanted to be here for this because she's not moving, so she's gonna start building on her place. So in like 9 months or so, she'll be moving the horses to her place, but all she knows is as a boarder. So it's very different when you start having to figure
Oh,
out
yes.
not just bringing your horses home, but a new place, right?
Absolutely.
New fencing. Where should the dry lot go? Where does the water fall? How do I do this? Do I live close to a quarry? You're close to a quarry.
I am.
I'm close to
thankfully,
a
yes.
quarry. That saves thousands
Oh yeah.
in
bet.
bringing the rock in.
Yeah.
But
And
know?
and the time turnaround.
Yes.
You can call, like I can call Monday and say I want rock Tuesday.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you know you can get it pretty, and they know you, so it's,
Right.
you know, it works well.
Or oops, I need 4 loads, not 2.
Absolutely.
Sorry. Yeah, that's me almost every time. He's like, how many do you need? I'm like, 2. So, like 4? Maybe? Can you just pencil that in?
yeah. Guaranteed 2.
For sure.
Probably 4.
Right. Which is crazy because I'm one that doesn't like rock. Like when we started that lower pasture makeover, I wanted all the rock out. No stone bruises, no rock whatsoever. I spent hours in rock.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But then we packed it on, then we put the screenings over it. It's still nice soft rock.
But then you also have the rock that has the
Correct.
banking.
Yes.
So that
Right.
took a lot of time, and that
Yes.
was a lot of rock, right?
Yeah.
Big planning.
Yeah, the riprap. So we
yeah.
banked a wall and then covered it in riprap so it wouldn't wash away. You know, you have to have that. And
And
then I
then
don't
the
want the
horses
horses
would-
on it.
Right.
So then we're fencing that in.
Yeah, because they
And it has
still
to look
would
pretty.
walk on it.
Well, you have to
Well,
take
yeah.
into consideration when you buy somewhere. For us, the people who built the house and built the barn put the barn at the lowest point of the property.
Oh,
So when we first moved there, my barn would flood.
yeah.
So that was a whole nother, you know, nothing like having torrential rain for days and you want to just bring your horses in to get out of the rain and there's this much water in your stalls.
Right.
You know? So,
right.
so you know, that was a whole
How
nother.
did you fix
How did you
that?
fix that? Yeah.
Built a new
We
barn?
Yeah,
Right?
No, but we have a pretty substantial drainage,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
behind the
Going
barn.
around
Like
it.
a,
Yeah.
like
that's
around,
what
like
I
a
would've
moat?
thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, more or less,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the
Knock
water
on- knock
gets
on
out
wood.
and goes away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we managed the water other places on the property, so the driveway basically led straight to the barn.
Oh,
And
okay.
so we had that fixed, and that helped.
Yeah.
It was a work in progress, you know,
Yeah.
and it was one of those like, oh, please, like, don't let the stalls be flooded when
Yeah.
you go down, you know, for a while and you end. And knock on wood, we don't have that problem now, but
Good.
yeah.
It's so different here than Arizona, obviously,
Oh,
because in Arizona this doesn't rain.
Right.
Like literally no rain.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everything is rock, but there's no mud.
Yeah.
When it does rain, there's no mud. Like
Yeah.
it's just water,
It
and
evaporates.
then it goes away the
Yeah.
next day. It's so much different than here, where there's you have to worry about the mud and like the hills and everything's flat.
What were the things that you did have to worry about being in the desert kind of climate?
Rattlesnakes.
Right?
She's
probably naming them.
I love the
Tarantulas.
snakes. Love the tarantulas. There really isn't that much like to worry about. I mean, it's hot, so you can't ride during the day in the
Right.
summer. You can only ride at dawn and dusk,
Right.
basically, or night. But I mean, the weather is the same all year, basically. There's no cold. There's no rain. There's no snow.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how are you finding it here? Because this is your first year here,
Mhm.
dealing with all of our North Carolina nonsense.
Well, I've always missed the green.
Okay.
So to me, like coming out here and hearing the crickets and the frogs and looking at the fireflies and all that,
Yeah.
it's a lot more homey than Arizona where it's dry.
Right.
And there's flies everywhere. Obviously, wherever you have horses, there's going to be flies. But it's definitely different here with the weather.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, I think, because where I was before, we didn't have a big arena.
Mhm.
It was a smaller arena, and most of the riding that I did was out on the trails
Mhm.
in the dirt, which or the sand. It's a miracle I didn't get killed.
Yeah.
Right.
Knowing what I know now versus what I knew then.
But we're always learning.
We all
and
say
growing.
that.
Yeah.
Wait, that has
Right?
fallen
Yeah.
out of my mouth 1,000
So
times.
many times.
Good.
Yeah.
You had fun.
With everything.
Yeah.
I'm glad you lived to come here.
I know, right?
Yes. A lot of sand. It's mostly sand there
Yeah.
instead of like dirt or mud or whatever.
Red clay.